welcome back to the Ben Motorcycle Adventures podcast, your hub for everything off-road, dual sport, and adventure motorcycle. My name is John. I will be your host. This is episode 28, Ben Motorcycle Adventures podcast. Thank you for joining, and as always, thank you for listening.
I was so busy making a living, I forgot to make a life. That saying, oh, good things come to those who wait. It's like, God, I haven't done a whole lot of waiting in my life. I've done a whole lot of getting up and going after it and just being persistent and believing in, what I can achieve or what I can do. And that's just paid back big time.
Just a couple of quick insights into our interview with special guest Jocelin Snow at Jocelin Snow on Facebook and Instagram. Really stoked that she joined the podcast. Jocelin has ridden or raced just about every kind of motorcycle event category, you name it. She's a member of the BMW International GS Trophy Team, or at least she was for the year of 2018. She's ridden around the world. She's guiding tours around the world. She's an entrepreneur, a hard worker. Her work ethic will make you feel really bad, really put you to shame. But one of the things that I noticed on Jocelin's Instagram as I was scrolling through there was this quote attached to a photo, and it says, "Either we have our dreams or we live our dreams." So my very first question for Jocelin Snow is this: are you living your dreams?
Oh, that's a great one. Yes, I am definitely living my dreams. And I really believe in that. And my Facebook motto that I have on there is making the rest of my life the best of my life. So I'm trying to do that with both. And I made that decision a few years ago. And since I made that decision, things have been really good. And I've just been maybe building the life that I always imagined. Like we all should do, right?
No, I agree. I'd be curious, was what prompted that shift, or did you just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to do things a little bit differently?
Well, I've always been a workaholic. I mean, shoot, from when I was a kid, I was 10 years old with a paper route starting at 4 a.m. And then when I was old enough to get a real job, I had 3 of them. And by the time I got out of college, I think I was working 104 hours a week or something ridiculous with a night job and a day job. And I started my own business when I moved to California, and one of many that I've done. And it consumed me, and I guess I got kind of buried in my business, which I enjoyed, of course, but what's that other saying? Since we're talking about sayings, I was so busy making a living, I forgot to make a life. And
yes.
I lost touch with that, and I got completely wrapped up. And my mother came out to visit from Maine. I'm originally from the East Coast. And she said to me, you need to enjoy your life now. Don't do what I did and work until you're too old to go and play. And I thought about that a bit, and it made a lot of sense. And at that same time, I was going through a divorce, and I thought, all right, I'm going to take a second look at my life and make some changes. And it was almost like a light switch. I think I woke up one morning and said, this is it. And if the doors aren't opening, I'm going to build some and make some changes and do the things I love. I still I have a couple businesses. I still work at them and run them, but I'm a little more hands off. I trust my employees, who are super dedicated and amazing, and they do a great job. And it's funny, you think, no, I need to have my hands in everything because it needs to be done, the way I think it needs to be done. But it's interesting to see how well things run when you just let the people that you hire and trust do their job. So it allowed me to step away a little bit and do some fun things.
Yeah, that's interesting take. I've been in leadership for a long time, and I always said the mark of a leader is how things go when they're not there, right? It's tough to let go and, let people kind of embrace the process and learn on their own.
It is. It is. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit of a control freak, when it comes to work. I definitely like my hands in the business, and I enjoy the business as well. So it was difficult for me at first to let go. But when I did, I think they enjoyed it a little more. I know I sure did. And now this has been going on for 3 years now, and I still feel guilty when I'm out of the country for a few weeks. Like, oh gosh, I know they're probably busy, and I hope they're okay. And I'll get off the plane and I pop in the front door, and they're all smiles and everything's still running like it should. So I'm super blessed, really.
Awesome, that's great. Back to your 104 hours a week, you're making me feel really lazy. I just want to throw that out there.
Well, I don't know if that was an exact number. It just popped into my head, but I was a crazy kid. I'd get up at 5 or 6 in the morning. I would run a gas station back when we used to pump gas in Maine. And when I got out of the gas station, I would go and work at a video store. Remember when we had VHS?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I ran that till 10 at night. And then I would change in the bathroom there, walk across the street and cocktail waitress until 2 in the morning. And just like that kind of stuff, and just nonstop. I don't know. I guess that's what I thought made me feel alive then, but things have changed as I've gotten a little older, I guess.
Sure, but that work ethic, you're a byproduct of that, and standing on the sideline, status quo, most of the time it's not going to take you where you ultimately want to be, or like in your case, have you living your dreams, right?
Yeah, I believe that. That saying, "Oh, good things come to those who wait." It's like, I haven't done a whole lot of waiting in my life. I've done a whole lot of getting up and going after it, and just being persistent and believing in what I can achieve or what I can do, and that's just paid back big time.
All right, that's awesome and inspiring. Hey, kind of an off-the-cuff question. I just did a podcast with Moto Bird Adventures, and they do tours in Baja, California, and even Belize. And we kind of discussed the growth of women in this sport, and I know that you're immersed in it. Are you seeing that too?
Yes, I'll tell you what. Since we're going to talk about women in the sport, I'm going to try not to get too emotional because I'm just really, really thrilled to see how many women are getting into motorcycling, of all types of motorcycling. When I started riding, I was 12 years old and I had a dirt bike, and that was frowned upon in my neighborhood. It really was. I wasn't even allowed to have the bike. I ended up buying it with my paper route money without telling my folks, and it was one of those deals, and my mother was the administrator at the hospital, and my father was the principal of my school, and there was nobody in my family that had motorcycle of any type or road. I think I saw it on a magazine cover somewhere, and I thought, that just looks cool, and I want one. So by the time I got a street bike, I was barely 15, maybe 16. I think it was a week after I got my driver's license, and I got a Ninja 2. Yeah, went right for the Ninja 250 for 6 months, and then right on to the Ninja 750. And I remember participating in a toy run in Augusta, Maine, where there were just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of motorcycles and riders. And I was the only female. Cars would pull up next to me on the freeway and just point and roll their windows down. It was just, wow, I was a female on a bike. And, Now, when you come up to a rider, you're not sure if it's male or female. It could be both. It's anyone's guess, and it's amazing to see women getting into all types of riding and competition, and it's growing and growing. And manufacturers making motorcycles that better fit women, or at least to help entice them to get into the sport. It's fascinating. I love it.
Excellent. So, what kind of, I know that I kind of know the answer to this, but tell our guests, what kinds of riding and racing have you done throughout the years? Because this is a long list.
I've decided I should just start saying, I've competed in every type of motorcycling except trials. That might be a better way. What haven't you done? I've ridden and raced motocross, flat track, supermoto, drag racing, hare scrambles, enduros. Eventually I was road racing, and then was road racing AMA 250 GP, and on, and then eventually into adventure bike riding, I guess, and competition. So a little bit of I probably missed something in there, but yeah, a little bit of everything, and it's all been different types of challenges and such. Each type of racing and riding still has like a special place in my heart, even though I don't do them all anymore. The memories from that competition, they stay with me.
Oh, for sure. That's some of the greatest memories of my life were growing up and going to those kinds of races, and just the community and the camaraderie that goes a long ways.
That's the best part. The riding is great, and the competition is fun, but really it's all about the people. It's the people, your competitors, the people that you meet that are enjoying the same thing that you have a passion for. It's just friends for life all over the place. The motorcycle community is pretty tight. And,
it's good. It's good.
It is. It's so good. I do. I love it.
So I also saw that you've owned at least 38 motorcycles. Now that's kind of an addiction thing. I'm feeling like maybe we need to get you some help, or intervene. What's going on? 38 different motorcycles.
Yeah, it's actually more. I just stopped saying over 40. At one time, there was one moment that I had 37 motorcycles in a 3-car garage in my profession. Whoa. Yeah. So when I say 37, it's just easy to say. But, every brand, every style, every type, even the trials bikes as well, the mini bikes, the vintage motorcycles, the collectors, the RZ 350 was in the living room, and it still is. It's in the living room. And I went through many different motocross bikes, the KTMs and the Hondas. Currently, I'm down. I'm doing better. I've been seeking therapy, and I've whittled down the collection. I think I'm going to say, I think 14 now. So is that better?
Oh my gosh.
Is that more acceptable?
No, that's better. It's progress, right?
I got to tell you something though. When you're busy doing life and you have more than a dozen motorcycles in the garage, it's almost like having more than 12 acres. It's work. You need a gardener for the 12 acres, right? So it was work. I would think, this bike, I would ride this bike for a few weeks, and then the other bikes the oil seals are drying up, and they're dropping oil on the garage, and the batteries are dead, and the tires went flat, and a mouse got into the air filter. It's like, oh my gosh, it's too much to keep up with. So now I have a smaller collection.
We need to get you a full-time mechanic, it sounds like.
Yes, that would be nice. That would free me up a little bit. I do have a friend that does a lot, helps me a lot with wrenching on the bikes when I have parts to put on them and such, and I just don't have the time to do it. and his name's Bobby, and he runs the Motorcycle Talbot Museum. So he's very crafty and very skilled with his mechanicking. So he's been useful, and I've been grateful for his help. So that's taken a little bit of a load off anyway, keeping the bikes going.
Sure. So I reached out to you a couple months ago, and you said, "Hey, I'll get back to you when I get back from Colombia." Were you down there riding motorcycles, or what'd you have going on there?
I was, and we'll probably skim over the GS Trophy a little bit later. But since I competed in that, several more doors have opened, and what's happened is these tour companies call me up and ask if I'd be interested in leading a tour. I would advertise it on my Facebook or social media of some sort, and they'll pay my way, and sometimes they'll pay me, often, to just ride motorcycles and see this cool country. So that's been pretty awesome. In the last 12 months, I've been to South Africa 3 times. Just led a tour, the Cape Town Loop, I called it. And then just came back from Colombia, leading a tour out through there. That was a all women's group, which was really cool. And it was such a success that the tour company has decided to do another one. So we'll be doing another tour in Colombia. Ooh, I should holler those dates out. I got to look at my schedule. See, I don't even know whether I'm coming or going. I might be in October or November. I'll have to check. But I'll post it up on social media soon, and that'll be another trip to Colombia, which should be fun. But it's helped me travel without the expense, and meet some really great people along the way, and see these countries and some back roads and some small towns that maybe I wouldn't have seen, had I just gone by myself or gone on my own. Very fortunate.
I want to ask you, and I kind of had this conversation again with the owner of Motorbird Adventures. You've obviously ridden amongst groups of men. You've probably been the minority at times, and now you're out leading groups of women. How does that differ when you're out on a motorcycle adventure?
Well, so are you asking how is it different when I'm with a group, or how is it different when I'm with a group of men?
Well, how does it differ between riding amongst men and then riding exclusively with a group of women, or does it differ at all?
It doesn't really differ too much. It depends on the ride and the riders. I think sometimes, very often, I'm in a group of all men, more often than not. And sometimes leading the group, sometimes I'm training or coaching, because I also coach. Here's a group of all men. And it seems like, and this could just be me, but it feels like in the beginning, I almost have to kind of prove myself, because, here's all these giants, and they're on giant motorcycles, and they're gruffy guys, and they look over like, really? This little girl is gonna come on. So maybe I try a little extra hard, the first few hours or the first day, and it doesn't take long, and I try to show myself and prove myself, and then we're all as one, which is great, and that's how I want to be. I don't want to be special. I don't want to be different. I just want to blend. I just love riding. They love riding. Let's just ride and enjoy the ride and each other. So that's where it gets different, and that could just be all me. This might be something I'm imagining. Whereas since we're talking about it, the South Africa tour was men, and the Colombia tour was women. So with the Colombia tour with the women, it seemed like right away, I didn't feel like I had to prove myself. I felt like they trusted me to lead them around and take them places that they were going to be safe and be able to ride and conquer, with a victory and such. So it maybe is a little smoother that way. Groups of women tend to be a little more, I feel like a little more supportive of each other, cheering each other on, and helping each other through technical situations, technical terrain, whereas sometimes the men are maybe less so. But what I don't want to, like, I'm not like trying to just single it out, but really, I truly love riding with both men and women, and I don't have a preference either way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you alluded to there. It's kind of an unspoken initiation amongst men. It never fails. You have to prove yourself. I don't know what it is. There's some sort of pecking order, and then you know what? Everybody falls in line, and things are good. But it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's got to see what you got, what your skills are. Never fails. Never fails.
Okay, well, thank you for admitting that, 'cause that's what I felt, But and it's a good thing, because once you prove yourself, wherever you may be in line, you pop yourself in line, and we're good for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and hats off to you if you can rally and unite a group of men. Yeah, you're doing something right. That's for sure.
Well, thank you. I've definitely ridden with some pretty awesome guys, so that helps too.
So the South Africa stuff, is that associated with the group? What is that? I lost my place. Up south. Yeah.
Yeah, Up South Adventures, wonderful company. I've worked with Werner, who is the head of a company. I guess it's him and a partner. Very organized, very professional. We all rode GS 1200s, and he actually gave me his bike to ride, which is the Rally. And then he ran the chase truck to make sure, follow us, in 20 minutes, half hour down the road, he followed us, and we were able to put all our stuff in the truck. And great company. Yeah. And boy, I'll tell you what, they know the places to go. There's this one little shop, I don't know, it was a little hole in the wall restaurant in the middle of nowhere, and these two brothers owned it. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. And we walk inside, and right away, they were so welcoming. It was a beautiful garden in the back. And then we ordered lemon meringue? Yeah, lemon meringue pie. And it was this doesn't even, you wouldn't recognize it. It was unlike any lemon meringue pie I'd ever had in my life. And unfortunately, the bar is now set so high that no one's ever, a matter of fact, I would almost fly back there just for this pie. It was that good. And I took, I don't know, maybe several photos of the pie. Maybe I'll put one on Instagram so you guys can see it, But it's things like that, they know where the best coffee is, where the best view is, the public is all at the scenic overlook that's designated by the highway sign. We're down some little dirt road around some pine tree looking over, and you can see, a sight like no other. So that's what's great about the tour companies. They really do know their area.
Yeah, and, shooting from the hip, what's the terrain, what's the riding like in South Africa?
So I've ridden the more northern part of South Africa, and down also south by the Cape. And it's pretty different. Down by the Cape, it was really clean, a little more touristy at first. The beaches were beautiful. We got into some pretty nice, long, gravel sorted, graded roads that you could just completely open up the bike as fast as you wanted to go. Out in the middle of the desert, we had some sand, some interesting water crossings. And the roads were just smooth as glass. Just absolutely, was just beautiful. And when at some point I was like, "Wow, am I at Big Sur in California?" Because you'd come around and see the rock ledges and the blue ocean, and it was just amazing. The terrain really wasn't too technical. We had some sections that definitely popped your eyeballs out of your head a little, but just for a bit, and no real accidents or anything. And then up north, where We have country tracks training facility. That area is a lot of rolling hills, a single track, some grass and sand and water crossings, and maybe a little more rock. So we had more technical terrain. We passed some areas of maybe more poverty, maybe less built up, which was still very interesting. We got a chance to maybe visit a bit with some of the locals and meet some of the kids and see how they lived, which is humbling, but it's good to see. It's good to see it all. So many different types of South Africa,
Sure. I mean, culturally, just seeing other countries, I think, kind of helps round out and shape your life and really your perspectives, I think, moving forward, too.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying to me, "You're going to South Africa, you're going to Colombia. Those are so dangerous. You better be careful." But I didn't feel that there at all, not even a tiny bit ever. Left stuff on the bike, didn't have any problems. I think, maybe we're dangerous. Maybe people say that about us. Oh, you're going to the States, you're going to California, you're going to the States, but that's dangerous. So, I think we all have our, maybe dangerous areas, but I just didn't find that. I found very nice people and just beautiful scenery and no problem at all with the safety.
Yeah, it's amazing how mainstream media can really kind of distort your view of a particular country or area. For instance, switching gears or polar opposites. Literally, I saw a photo. You were in Alaska. You rode to the Arctic Circle. This one's on my bucket list. I've talked to a number of people who've ridden the Dalton and up to Prudhoe Bay. What was that experience like?
Okay, so Alaska was kind of a whim. This is how that went down. I had previously I had mentioned I was a dirt bike, right? So dual sport bike, dirt bike, KTM motorcycles, some sport bikes, and I wanted an adventure bike. I went to an IMS show and I saw this adventure bike, this GS 1200. It was black and gold. It had all the Touratech parts on it.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
And it was gorgeous. And I wanted it. And I sat on that bike and I couldn't get it off the kickstand. So short. Now I can. I have my way. But back then I didn't know my way yet. And my feet were dangling about 8 inches from the floor on each end. And the guy in the booth was like, that's kind of a big bike for a little girl, So I was so bummed and decided I needed to get an adventure bike. What am I going to do? So I went and bought a KTM 990, the SMT, Supermoto Touring, because I had 17-inch wheels front and back. And I turned it into an adventure bike. I put hiding out tires on it. I had to put a rear tire on the front and flip it backwards and make a bracket for the front fender so that would work. And I put boxes on it and I called it my adventure bike. And I took these trips. So each year I went to the KTM Adventure Rally. And we had them, I think we had them in Colorado and New Mexico. So all these beautiful areas. And that was my trip every year, 2 weeks. And I rode out there and I would spend time on the computer picking the best route and the coolest roads and Google Earthing the neatest dirt roads.
Yes.
I was like, I Google
Been
Earthing,
there.
Trying to pop in a BDR if possible and making my way out and making my way back. So one day I decided that this KTM 990 just isn't quite the adventure bike because it doesn't have the clearance. I'm getting caught up on rocks and stuff and the skid plate. I went through like 2, 3, 4. Actually, I think it was four skid plates, and that front tire was just a bit wide. And I was like, I got to figure this out. And so I went and bought a GS 1200, a GSA, a BMW GSA 1200, and decided I was going to figure it out. So 2 months after I bought it, actually a month after I bought it, I take that back, I went down to Rawhide in Castaic, which is an off-road training facility. Yep. So I went, just signed up for the advanced class because I didn't have the money to pay for the beginner and the advanced. And I said, cross my finger, they don't kick me out and send me back to the beginner, And I had this big monster of a machine, and I made it through the class and decided, okay, now I need to go test out my new skills. So I'm going to go to Alaska. So this was this year's trip I was going to make, and it was going to be a 2-week trip. So when I sat down on the computer and I started mapping this thing out up to Alaska, the fun way, left and right, and all through the different parts of Canada, maybe a day off in McCarthy and ride the suspension bridge over there and watch them catching the king salmon, and then maybe come down Idaho, right, and work out my way down through there. So, and up through Oregon and Washington, I was like, by the time I was done, I had an obscene amount of miles. I was at 12,000.
You had five months worth of riding.
So it became a 30-day trip, 12,000 miles. And I think it was the best thing I've done in my life. It was the best decision. It was one of the best times. It changed my life, I'm pretty sure. And so you'll maybe see on, I'm not sure where you were looking at the photos, but up through Alaska. And I stopped off at the Toratech Rally in Plain, Washington, and stayed there for a couple of days, and then continued on up through the Washington BDR and up into Alaska. And I was making writing a story each day that I had service and posting it on my Facebook at the time. And after a few days, I was surprised at how many people were following along, and they were sending these messages and saying, Jocelin, I am truly living vicariously through you. I have always wanted to go to Alaska. I thought, that's so cool. And the more people that wrote, I went on this trip all about me. Oh, I need a vacation. I need to do this. I always want to do this. This is me, selfish me. I'm going to go see these cool places, and I'm going to do this and do that. And with 3 or 4 days into it, I'm in tears at this camp spot reading these text messages about, or Facebook messages about, my eyesight started going bad and I can't ride a motorcycle anymore, but I'll tell you what, I'm running to my computer every morning to see your adventure. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this trip for me. This is not even about me. This is, other people are watching. Other people are interested. I can take these pictures. I need to show these people what's here. I need to show them what I'm seeing. I need to tell them about these amazing people that I'm meeting out here. And when I left, I was this was back when I told you, when I decided I was changing my life. And I was a little down on humanity. People in my life were disappointing. There was a big chain of people just kind of disappointing. And I just I wasn't in a good spot. So as I headed out on this trip, this one lady out in the middle of Alaska, I think it was called the Hotspot Cafe. I pulled in there. It's the 4th of July. Great time to go up the Dalton Highway, right? There's no trucks. And she's got this big, what they would call a big resort up there. These containers, which are hotel rooms, and she's got herself a little restaurant and a gift shop, and their house is on the property. And she says, honey, you're my only customer today, and for the night. So here's my keys. This is keys to everything. Help yourself to the kitchen. Make whatever you want. And heck, there's stuff in the gift store. Just do what you need. We're going fishing. I'll see you tomorrow. And she left me this wad of keys, and off she went. And I thought, wow, there's still people that trust people. She didn't know who I was. It was like, and she's just trusted me with everything she has. And it was just a neat feeling. And on top of it, I had people from Facebook send me messages, and they're Facebook friends, but I haven't met them. Hey, it looks like your route's coming right up by my house. My cabin is here, the address. The key is under the mat. There's, food in the fridge, beer in the fridge, whatever. Help yourself. I'm not there, but, make yourself at home. And it was just really neat. And I came back from that trip to Alaska with kind of a new thoughts,
Yeah, I think it sounds like maybe kind of sounds cliche, but help restore your faith in humanity. What better way to get out there and kind of clear your mind and bump into some people from different walks of life, and maybe shape your perspectives a little bit moving forward.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. You get stuck in the old rigmarole, around doing this routine things that we do and with the people that we are always around. And adventure is really where it's at. When you venture out to new places and you meet new people and you see new things, it's you never know what to expect.
So I gotta ask, you'd only been riding the bike for a short period of time, and then you ride all the way up and you're standing on the North Pole. What's that moment like?
Again, it was a tear-jerking moment, and more so for the Arctic Circle sign, because I had seen pictures on people on Facebook or magazines posing next to the sign with their motorcycle, and it's kind of surreal. It's like when you go to the MotoGP races and you watch these guys go around the track and you're like, wow, we're just imagining being there. It's another thing when you're on the bike and you're on the track. And it was similar. It was just neat to see the pictures. And then when I pulled into that lot and I saw the sign, it was pretty special. It was pretty special. I had someone along the way, some kid that I had met along the ride had given me a lollipop. So I sat down at the picnic table near the sign and I ate this lollipop. And this bird flew over and sat on the stick and pecked away at this lollipop that was in my hand. At the sign. I have it on video. Maybe I should put that up too. And I said, this is crazy. He's just hanging out here eating this. And so I don't know. It was almost like, I'm just going to sit here with this bird eating my lollipop while I'm staring at this sign because this is really, real. I wanted to be here and do this for so long. And it was a dream come true. I think everybody should go to Alaska if they haven't been.
I'm going to go next year. It's, it wasn't even on my radar till we started doing this podcast. And I've heard stories like you, and I think I've got to get up there and experience it. But I want to take my time too. I don't want to be on a timeline. I want to kind of cruise around, see everything that I want to see, and not be rushed. A month sounds appropriate, like you did.
I think so. I would say I've visited many places and countries, but when it comes to Alaska, things slow down. And I highly recommend a longer trip and taking your time, really getting to meet the people. When I spent a day in McCarthy and I met a local who runs lodges there, who dug out his old BMW. Gosh, it was a vintage bike for sure. And he worked on it all night till he got it running and said he was going to come with me when I left and ride up to the sign. And we ended up delaying a day. And that night they invited me into their home for dinner. His wife made dinner and they had one of those, you go down the ladder through the floor of the kitchen into a root cellar, and that's where their refrigerator was,
Oh, wow.
It was really cool, and just took me into their home and fed me, and he was great. He came along for the ride, and he came up to the Arctic Circle sign, which was great. By that time, I had a couple of people riding with me, and that was really neat. And then there's this place called Chicken. I'm sure you've heard of Chicken, Alaska.
I haven't.
Oh,
actually.
gosh. They call it chicken because they can't say the other bird that begins with a P, and I can't say it either. So we're just going to call it chicken. But I think the population is in the 20 people or so. And in the wintertime, it drops down to, under a dozen. But there's still mining for gold out here, and people come out to vacation in Chicken. Now, there's no running water. There's no toilets. It's porta potty. There's really no electricity. It's just the middle of nowhere, and it's a little town that this guy's made. And they have a little store, and you go and you mine for gold, and if you get some gold, you bring it to the store, and they weigh it for you, and they pay you off, and it's pretty cool. There's a giant chicken on the top of this hill made out of metal, and I asked the guy that owns chicken, the town, and I said, what is that thing made out of? And it was made out of high school lockers.
What?
The high school, they pulled the lockers out of the high school, and the kids spent their welding class building this giant chicken to bring in and put in the town. And it's so remote. It's on the border. So it's so remote and so far out that once a week they make a trip into town to get the supplies for the restaurants and the food. And I think they said once a year the Coca-Cola truck comes up there and brings all the soda and the beer for the year to fill the bar or what have you.
It's like a party, a big party.
Yeah. And then I think it's in August, September, maybe October, they shut down the road, and that's it. There's no more maintenance, and it fills up with snow. And if you're in chicken, you stay in chicken.
You're stuck.
Yeah, it's pretty
all right. I'm doing a little bit of scientific research here now. I've interviewed about 3 or 4 people that have been to Alaska. I got to verify this. Are the mosquitoes up there insane? Can they pack you off?
Okay, so when I was heading up that way, one of the first people I met was this man just outside of Alaska. This old man, and we were sitting at a little ice cream parlor, and he was asking me, you ride a motorcycle? And we kind of made conversation back and forth. Well, where are you headed? I said, well, I'm going up to Alaska. You're going to Alaska? Well, how far are you going? I said, all the way up. Well, honey, you better put some rocks in your pocket. I said, rocks in my pocket? Those mosquitoes will just carry you away if you don't. And I thought, oh, gosh, I'm not a mosquito fan. I hope they don't. And the last thing he said to me, because it was going to be the 4th of July weekend up there, he said, well, we don't have fireworks. We listen to them on the radio up there in Alaska. And I said, what do you mean you listen to your fireworks? Because it's daylight. Daylight, we don't have night. And he just, oh gosh, he got me twice. But I'll tell you what, I left the middle of June, returned the middle of July. There were no mosquitoes. The only place I may have seen like 1 or 2 was at this little swamp area that I had pulled off on the side of the road to make an adjustment to my load on the bike. But riding, stopping, everywhere I went, did not have any mosquitoes. It was dragonfly season, though, I'll tell you what, and they were coming at you in hundreds at a time. And that was pretty crazy. I do remember that. But no, so I think it may have to do with the weather and the time of year and when you're traveling. But I was pretty surprised. So I don't believe in the mosquitoes in Alaska because I haven't seen them. So
okay, I'm going to mark that down here in my my adventure riding in Alaska research paper. Hey, did you get experience the Northern Lights when you were up there?
I did not see them. The aurora. What I was told was it was the wrong time of year.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that the sky, just the sky anyway. In some areas, it's so remote and there's just not any light pollution, and the stars seemed so deep. The sky looked so deep, like super, super 3-dimensional. I just hadn't seen so many stars and so bright. It was just astounding. But I do remember that.
Okay, I want to shift gears on you a little bit. Talk about the Women's International GS Trophy team. You're a member. You're kind of regarded as a adventure riding badass, but most of us aren't really up to speed on that. What can you tell me?
Well, the BMW International GS Trophy it's kind of like the Olympics of motorcycles, in my opinion. So you can only do it once in a lifetime. So it truly is a once in a lifetime adventure. Yeah, you get one shot at it. That's it. And participating countries all over the world each come up with a team of 3. And then that team of 3 goes to some remote country in the middle of nowhere, who knows where, and they compete. So, yeah, it's a lot like the Olympics of motorcycles. So how this worked was every other year there's a qualifier, and the opposite year is the actual trophy. So when I had come back from Alaska and I was thinking, I got to hang on this motorcycle. I think I know how to ride it. I'm doing okay. And I was maybe feeling a little cocky, like, I got this thing. My buddy says, he's like, well, if you think you've got this bike, you need to try out for the GS Trophy. And I was like, the GS Trophy? What is that? I've never even heard of the GS. I mean, it has trophy in it. I like trophies, but I don't know anything about GS Trophy. And so he tells me, he's like, no, this is the qualifiers are coming up in a couple months, and you need to go and compete. So basically, what it is, it's almost like a trials riding, but on a giant motorcycle. And maybe it's mud exercise, or maybe you're balancing the bike by using the clutch, and you're picking up tennis balls off cones, or you're riding over logs, or you're riding with one hand around a barrel while wrapping it with a rope. And it goes on and on. Different skills to see how well you can manage the motorcycle, usually at fairly slow speed. Sometimes it's a lock-to-lock maze through a bunch of barrels and boards and such and logs to see if you can make it from one end to the other without tipping over. So I thought, what the heck, I'm just going to compete and see what happens. And I heard that the following year, which was last year, was going to be, the trophy was going to be in Mongolia. Mongolia. I don't even know where Mongolia is. I had to get on Google. I felt like social studies back in high school. I don't remember Mongolia. So, what a neat country. So I went down. Now, the way we did it in the U.S., we had an East Coast, a Central, and a West Coast qualifier. And that was the year before last. This year, the qualifier they're having for the trophy is only going to be a West Coast. And it's coming up here in a few months. It's coming up in May. So, but I went down and I competed for the West Coast. And the first day you compete on your own bike. And if you make the cut of 20, I think it's the top 20, then everybody competes the final day, the next day, on the same exact bike. So they bring in a GS 1200 Rally, and everyone rides that bike. And you go through the course and they score you. So we had, I think, 53 guys and a handful of ladies. And I made, I think I finished 13th or 15th. So I made the cut for the next day and ended up winning the women's class. So I was like, great, I'm going to go to Mongolia. And they said, no, that's not how it works with the women. So the top 3, so the first person from the East Coast, the Central, and the West made the team to go to Mongolia. That's Team USA, and those were men. The women, they took the top 2 women, which was Bettina Nadell from Colorado. So she did the Central, and myself from California that did the West Coast. And they sent us to South Africa. Not bad. All paid for, yeah. And off we went to compete again. So now each country that was participating sent over two women. And we had, we're supposed to have 24 women, but I think we had 23. And one lady couldn't get a visa or something. And we competed again. We did another trophy. And this was a 4-day competition until they were going to pick a team of 3. But at the very last day, on the final cut, BMW decided the scores were so close they were going to have 2 teams of 3. So we had 2 international women's teams. Coincidentally, we had both ladies from the U.S., Bettina and myself, and we had Australia on our team. And the other women's team were 2 ladies from South Africa and France. And they sent us over to Mongolia to compete head-to-head against the men. So it was pretty fantastic. So that's the GS Trophy in a nutshell.
Interesting. So did that, you talked about that experience of being a member of that team. Were there any other rides or anything associated with the trophy, or was that pretty much a wrap after you competed against the men?
Yeah, it was pretty much a wrap. There was some training. So after we got back from South Africa from the competition, we got a letter from BMW about maybe 3 weeks later. And they said, congratulations on making the team. Now that you have your team, we would like you to train with them and get to know each other. But you guys are from all different countries. So we're going to send you back to South Africa for a week of training. And so we turned right back around and went back to South Africa. And it was great. And it's all expenses paid, and you get there and you have a beautiful motorcycle sitting there ready for you. And, some awesome riders, some great girls to train with. And it was just amazing. But the trophy itself was, when we got to Mongolia, it was, a lot of riding, some serious kilometers each day. And then you would kind of crest up over a hill or a bluff. And as you started down, you would see shiny bikes and flags and trucks. And that was a special test. So you'd been riding maybe for an hour or two, and all of a sudden you come down and it's time for a competition. And you would pull up to the special test and not know what to expect, and they would read the rules. So it might be like, okay, this is and they read them like in monotone, so everyone gets read the rules the same way. So this is a special test, and the rules are the three of you need to tow a bike. So one bike will be towed by the other, and the third bike will follow. And you have to go through this course. And you look at the course, and the course is something you'd just be proud if you could just ride your motorcycle by yourself. Never mind towing a bike that's broken down with someone on it. You're like, oh gosh, So excuse me, but it was a lot of stuff like that.
So obviously you've got a quiver of bikes, I'm going to call it. You got a lot of motorcycles. What is it about the BMWs that's so special? Why do you keep riding those bikes? I mean, I know they're amazing machines, but for those of us who haven't thrown a leg over them, what makes them different?
I'm not lying when I say of all the motorcycles I've owned, I'm really partial to this GS 1200. It kind of does all the things that the other bikes do, all in one bike. So I can, rip through the pavement, rip through the twisties like anything else. It has the speed to carry me down the highway. It has the comfort. It has the ability to carry bags, boxes, luggage, tent, dry bags, whatever it is I need. And, if I see a dirt road, I don't have to go, wow, I wonder what's down there. I can head down the dirt road. If it turns into a single track, I can head down the single track. If it climbs a mountain, I have heated grips. I have the wonderful Wonder Wheel, which is just a little round circle by your thumb that you can spin, and you can run your GPS. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can toggle and see what your tire pressure is on the left, on the front, on the back. It'll tell you everything. I think sometimes if you just do it right, you can get your taxes done, and it'll give you your horoscope. I don't know. It's got everything. I don't have to stop and lube the chain, and they're easy as heck to work on. The motor is so it's calm. I mean, it has the grunt when you need it, but it's smooth and easy to ride. Very easy to ride. I just love them.
So I'm gonna throw this out there for everybody. I'm completely fascinated by what the group from Backcountry Discovery Routes has done over the past number of years, and I saw that you'd ridden. I guess I wouldn't call it the newest route because the California BDR South is out now, but you rode the Mid-Atlantic BDR recently with TourTech. For those of us who haven't been to that, what is the route like back on the East Coast?
The Mid-Atlantic BDR was awesome. First of all, BDR in general, Backcountry Discovery Routes, what an amazing organization. Yes. Once I really discovered what they did and I understood, how they did things and what they stood for, I signed up as a lifetime member. and then became an ambassador for BDR. So I'm both.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to ask you if you were an ambassador. Good to know.
Yeah, and happy to be one. So we went and did the Mid-Atlantic BDR a few months back. That's on the Facebook page, I believe, some pictures. I would, out of the other routes that I have done, I would describe the Mabder as one of the more easier routes. Definitely one of the most scenic routes. They're all great. I mean, all their routes are amazing. But this one, the scenery was just amazing. The rolling green hills and these little back roads, just 1.5 lane back roads, just winding through the forest. We went through the Amish country and the the Amish people coming through with their horse and buggies and some old buildings, and we went through some dirt roads that were just a kick in the pants, where it had just enough technical, I call it texture, so just enough texture to keep you smiling, but not so much texture that you had to really be focusing in on your game. So we all had our Senna communications, and we're talking back and forth and laughing and just going and having the best time ever. I definitely think it's one of my favorite routes. I'm really enjoyed it. The accommodations were nice along the way. We actually hoteled it. We didn't camp like I sometimes do, but we checked out all the lodging, and then we rode. There's a couple of expert loops as well, or expert routes.
Uh-huh.
They are expert for sure. We were definitely on the top of our A game. We brought our A game for those, so they were challenging. It had rained previously, so they were a little wet. But then we went back and we did the regular route as well, so that we could say we've ridden every inch of the Mid-Atlantic BDR.
You did it all.
We didn't miss anything. But it's a wonderful ride. If anyone who's out there, if you haven't done the Mid-Atlantic BDR, I highly recommend it. You won't regret it. And I'll stick to it that I think it's an easier route that you could do with just about any type of motorcycle, as long as you have a bit of a knobby tire, and take your time. And I think it's a great route.
Yeah, and again, I think the people at Backcountry Discovery Route, what an amazing group. I'm curious, a route that's not established yet. If there's one place in the States where they could put a route, it's not there yet, where would that be for you?
Well, recently I was out at some IMS shows, kind of more in the central of our country. And what they always kept saying was, they were coming up to us and saying, you have BDRs up on the East Coast and you have BDRs all over the West Coast, but how about some of us guys in the middle? And they're right. There's nothing in the middle to help, kind of work that over. And I told him, I said, well, at the time it was 19 below zero, I think. And I said, well, it's cold here in Minneapolis, like really cold. You go, I don't want to ride here. But what I told them is I encourage them to get on the BDR website and become a member and be active, and that we don't know your state. And if you do, the great places to ride, you could help put together a route. The BDR is all volunteers, with the exception of Ina, who I think is the only paid employee. The BDR is made up of 100% volunteers, and they make their money off from donations. So, it's volunteers like you that know your state and your roads and your favorite places to see, and you can help build a route. And I think that's what we need. We need some more people to get involved in the backcountry discovery routes and help us make more trails, more tracks.
Okay. No, that's a good point. I spend a fair amount of time on the site, I'm not going to lie. I did notice that in progress or in the works, Montana and Wyoming, those things are of particular interest to me too. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to riding the SoCal one maybe this fall too.
Yeah, I think so. Wyoming was supposed to happen next. And I was actually going to be in the filming for that. But they've changed it, and it's now going to be, they're not calling it New England, the Northeastern BDR. So we will be filming that starting in August, I think August, September.
All right, some breaking news here on the podcast.
Yeah, I just let the cat out of the bag. So that's happening. And so I'll be up on the East Coast, and we will be riding that one, the Northeastern BDR. And then, may as well tell it all, I'm pretty sure it'll be Wyoming next after that.
Can't wait. Cannot wait for that.
Beautiful state, right? I mean, so many amazing places to ride.
Yep, it's been a long time since I've been there, but definitely need to get back. Few questions left for me. I'm going to dive deep here. So, in your opinion, where's the most memorable place living your dreams has taken you so far?
Ooh.
Yeah, no holds barred here.
So, I'm just going to say like this. By the way, this is a question I didn't know was coming, so I'm not prepared. But there's a place that this has taken me, this adventure that I've been on the last few years, and it's not necessarily a destination. It's not a place that you can pinpoint on a map. What all this has done for me is it's given me the opportunity to go to shows and talk to people about riding, talk to people about my adventures, and hopefully inspire people. The best place that keeps happening is I'm at a show and I'm telling the story, and when I'm done, or maybe a podcast, and when I'm done, someone sends me a message or somebody comes up to me and says, just listening to your story changed my life. And a lot of times it's a female. This one that stands out is this young girl. Her dad brought her. She heard I was going to be at this show, at an IMS show, talking, and they drove an hour and a half to come out to the show because she wanted to see me. They didn't go look at the show. They just came to hear my story, which I just talk about what I'm talking about now. And so I just show some photos. And this little girl came up to me, and she's like, she had rehearsed in the car for an hour and a half all the questions she wanted to ask me. And she asked them all, and we talked for about an hour. And this kid gave me the biggest hug, and her dad has since written me saying, you have given her confidence, and you have inspired her to, be someone and to be strong and to go after her dreams. That's the place. Those are the places that this has brought me, to be able to help someone find what I just found, to help someone try something that maybe they thought they couldn't try. We didn't even touch on it, but I'm 5'1.5". I can't touch the ground on this 550-pound motorcycle at all. And so, normally people would say, like, well, you can't ride that. How can you ride it? You can't even touch the ground. We find a way. We find a way to do it, and you believe in yourself, and you just keep trying until you make it happen. So my favorite place to be is talking to someone who is truly inspired. Someone who, this gentleman, he was shorter than me, no joke. And we were talking, and he was a Harley rider, and he loved his Harley, but he always wanted an adventure bike, especially now that adventure bikes are getting to be more and more popular. And he wanted to go off-road, and he wanted to see more places. And he came up to me and said, I don't even get it. I don't understand how you could even get the bike off the kickstand. So we went over to another section in the show where there happened to be a GS 1200 sitting down on the floor. And I showed him some tricks. I said, this is how I do it. And it had bags and boxes on it. The thing was all freighted. And I showed him, and he tried it. And he said, this is a game changer for me. And I got a letter from him recently just saying how he's bought the bike, or he had picked it out in the showroom and he was going to buy it.
Oh, cool.
And he was already mapping out his big adventure, and that this was a dream, and it was going to be a dream come true. And he thanked me. You get the idea anyway. It's like this to me is what it's all about.
So it's not necessarily a destination, but it's a place where you positioned yourself in your life. That's the most memorable thing, right?
It is. It is. And as far as location, there's no particular special, place that I've been that sticks out in my mind. Everything's special. Every place I've been is special. All the people I meet along the way are special. And that's, I guess, what adventure is all about. Is it's different every time. You could go do the same route, but you see different people and different terrain and different views and stuff. So, yeah, that's it anyway.
And considering that, different cultures, you've ridden with a lot of different groups, met a lot of different people, and I'm sure formed some great bonds. What's the takeaway from all those interactions?
The GS Trophy especially brought that on. Here we are with 120 riders, and they're all from different countries with different cultures and different ways. And to be able to all come together with our differences, and share our passion. We all have the same passion as riding motorcycles, and really get to understand each other and each other's cultures and how we live. And it's fascinating. I really think, to me, motorcycling, it's seeing the cool places, like I said, and it's riding. We love riding, and sometimes the competition. But when it comes right down to it, it's the people. It's the people you meet along the way. You pull up to a gas station and everybody wants to come on over and talk and see where you've been and where you're going. And it's I love that motorcycling brings that.
Good answer, and I couldn't agree more. It's just the people you meet along the way, and I truly believe it changes you. It again shapes your future, your perspectives, your outlook. So I couldn't agree more.
Well said. Exactly.
So before we close it out here, I want to ask, are there any sponsors out there, people that help you along the way, or anybody like that we should mention or give a plug to?
Absolutely. When I first started this, Clearwater Lights came on and helped me out, and they have some fantastic LED lights for motorcycles. And then Climb makes women's gear, and it fits amazingly. I love it. Then Toratech, Senate Communications, Moto Pockets. It's a new company. They make bags for the motorcycle. You can put your stuff in. It's great. And Wiser Lights. Those are LED blinkers. Wolfman Luggage and Moscow Moto. All the good stuff. Without them, I don't know if this would all be possible. It definitely makes it a little bit easier to go on these trips for sure.
Yeah, and again, great people like that, great businesses, a part of a great community like we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Okay, last thing, Jocelin, how do we find you on the web and on social media?
Well, please do. I hope I can make some new friends out there. So it's tricky. It's Jocelin, but it's Jocelin. So no Y. Jocelin and Snow. Snow, just like the white fluffy stuff you guys probably have up there in Oregon.
Oh, don't remind me.
So in Instagram, it's just Jocelin Snow. Same with Facebook. There's 2 pages on Facebook, just Jocelin Snow. And I would just love if anyone was out there listening to how you guys reach out. And I'm up in Oregon here in June. So if there's anyone from up that way, get together and ride. I'm kind of all over the place lately on this bike, so I would love to make some new friends and see some roads and some sites from your area. So please find me on social media. I would love that.
Excellent. And a funny thing, I was trying to type your name in, and I'm using a Mac. It kept trying to correct it with a Y.
Yeah, I think the true spelling is supposed to be with a Y, but I don't know. I think I got named after some male cousin out of Canada. I'm not sure. So I got the Celin instead of the Selyn. But if you could spell my first name, you can find me for sure. Or just type motorcycle, right?
Yep. Yeah, it stands out. All right, Jocelin, truly an inspiration. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and looking forward to sharing this one with everybody next Thursday.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care, Jocelin. Thank you for coming on the podcast. And now you hold the dubious honor of having the longest interview with us so far. But seriously, great sense of humor, really inspiring story. At Jocelin Snow on Facebook and Instagram, you guys, it's worth your time to give her a follow. Who knows where she's going to be next, riding the latest BDR, leading motorcycle tours in Colombia and South Africa. And like she says, making the rest of my life the best of my life. Really inspiring story, and really looking forward to what's next for Jocelin. And hey, Jocelin, by the way, if you do get up to Oregon this summer, hit me up. We'll go for a ride. Considering the 4 foot of snow we just got this week, I think June's going to be pretty good riding. So if you make it up this way, hit me up. We'll be more than happy to show you around. But again, one more time, guys, at Jocelin Snow on Facebook and Instagram. BenMotorcycleAdventures.com. That is our website. You guys need to check that out. Catch up on the latest episodes of the podcast, long-form written content on the blog, off-road, dual sport, motorcycle adventure tours here on the West Coast and predominantly in the state of Oregon. If that sounds like it's something that's up your alley, you want to check out BenMotorcycleAdventures.com. And don't forget our social media channels at Ben Motorcycle Adventures on Facebook and Instagram. Couple of reminders. We did that podcast with Moto Minded this Monday. Remember, we've got a coupon code out there that's good till the 10th or 11th of March that saves you 10% in the store. That coupon code is BMA10. Again, Moto Minded lighting solutions, awesome, clever, creative solutions for KTM, Gas, Husqvarna, and Beta, and soon to be Adventure Bike. So you definitely want to check them out and utilize our code when you shop with Moto Minded. KTM 790 Adventure R. The anticipation is building for me. I'm hoping to take delivery of that bike in May, and here we are staring down the barrel of March, so 2.5 months away. I'm not really sure what the timeline is, but I do have a Facebook group dedicated to that particular bike, KTM 790 Adventure R. And like I've said before, when I get the bike, you can follow along with my build, and who knows, I think we're going to get a lot of riding in on that thing this summer. Wrapping it up here, we had 3 podcasts this week, tremendous amount of work. I'm going to go on a little bit of a hiatus, but don't worry, we'll be back Monday, March 11th, and I've got another lineup of great guests coming at you. Mountain View Motorcycle Adventures, Phoenix Handlebars, and also Henry Crew, who is attempting to be the youngest person to circumnavigate the world or ride around the world, and he's also riding for a cause. So that'll be a very interesting interview. But again, we'll be back on Monday, March 11th. And listeners, if you've got any questions, you've got any recommendations, anything like that, benmotorcycleadventures@gmail.com. Don't be afraid to give me a shout out, and we'll talk about that stuff on the air too. I'd love to get some more engagement going there. So I think that's it. We're going to wrap it up. This was episode 28. Thanks to Jocelin Snow, and we'll see you guys again on Monday, March 11th. Take care.